This show isn't for the faint of heart, the easily offended, or those who still think CNN tells the truth. What you're about to hear is a mix of cold facts, hot takes, and more sarcasm than the Biden family at a tax audit. If you want safe spaces, soft words, or someone to pat your head and say it'll all be okay, try NPR. If you want reality served with grit, laughs, and zero apologies, welcome to Data and Dissonance.
Texas isn't just rewriting maps. It's rewriting the rules of the game. With Trump in the White House and Republicans in Austin ready to drop a redistricting plan that could flip 5 new congressional seats, the national spotlight is burning hotter on the Lone Star State than a July sun. The left is calling it a coup by cartography. The right calls it justice long overdue. And the media, well, they're already crying threat to democracy before the ink's even dry. But make no mistake, this isn't just about Texas. This is about the balance of power in Washington, the future of midterms, and whether conservatives are finally done playing defense. Tonight, we're cracking it open, tearing into the strategy, the risks, and the fallout. And you're not going to hear it spun this way anywhere else. Now, before we dive in, let's bring in the crew. First up, Brian, our resident MAGA fire starter, the guy who thinks Trump's campaign rallies should replace Sunday church services. He's probably got 3 "Don't Tread on Me" flags hanging in his living room right now. Then we've got Rachel, the red pill of the group, sharp as a tack and not afraid to tell Brian he's drinking too much Kool-Aid, even if it's sugar-free MAGA berry blast. And of course, Daniel, our conspiracy connoisseur, the man who can look at a traffic jam and tell you it's probably the deep state running an op. He's got a corkboard and string for days. And finally, Skylar, our resident progressive and proud Green Party voice, here to remind us that cows are destroying the planet, oil is the devil, and if we'd all just drive solar-powered skateboards, the world would be fine. Basically, the panel's designated tree hugger, but hey, we keep him around so you know this show isn't just an echo chamber. And me, your host, trying to keep this circus balanced while secretly wondering if we're going to get flagged by YouTube before we even hit the 10-minute mark. Today's episode is brought to you by the Caleb Rourke Thriller series. My books don't hold your hand. They throw you into the chaos of espionage, corruption, and the kind of global intrigue the mainstream press wouldn't touch if their lives depended on it. The Covenant Protocol and the Prophet Directive are out now, with Black Echo Rising dropping this December. If you like fiction that feels a little too close to reality, these are your next reads. And hey, fuel your day with something stronger than CNN spin. Our Data and Dissonance coffee blends are roasted in the USA and come in 3 flavors: the bright and citrusy High Lakes, the bold Rock Creek, and the unapologetically dark Bitterroot French Roast. Whether you want a smooth morning kick or the kind of cup that slaps you awake like Kamala Harris realizing she's still VP, our coffee's got you covered. Grab a bag, a mug, or even a trucker hat at dataanddissonance.printify.me and rep the show while you caffeinate. Texas is about to light the fuse on the biggest redistricting fight in the nation. And it's not just about county lines or precinct squabbles. It's about the future of Congress. The GOP, backed by Trump, is poised to approve new maps that could add as many as 5 safe Republican seats. 5. That's not just rearranging the furniture. That's building an entirely new wing on the House of Representatives. Democrats are already crying foul, screeching about gerrymandering and voter suppression. But here's the kicker. This is exactly how the game has always been played. It's power politics, Texas style, and suddenly the rest of the country is watching the Lone Star State like it's the Super Bowl. So let's break this down. Is this brilliant strategy that cements conservative momentum heading into midterms? Or does it risk blowing back in the courts and energizing the left? Brian, you've been grinning since I said 5 new GOP seats. Let's start with this. Are Trump and the Texas Republicans basically outmaneuvering Democrats here? Or are they just feeding red meat to the base?
Look, this isn't just a move, it's a masterpiece. The Democrats love to pretend they own the moral high ground, but they've been carving up maps in California, Illinois, and New York for decades. When they do it, it's called representation. When Republicans do it, suddenly it's the death of democracy. Texas is just playing the game better. With Trump backing it, you know it's not just about winning a battle, it's about reshaping the entire board so Republicans stay on offense. This is about giving Texans who've been drowned out by blue city politics their voice back. It's not red meat, it's a steak dinner with all the sides, and the GOP is finally eating first.
All right, but let me press you. Doesn't this risk coming across like Republicans can't win fair fights, that they need to tilt the board? How do you answer the Democrats screaming about voter suppression?
That's the beauty of it. You don't answer. You laugh, because this isn't suppression, it's survival. If Republicans sit back, they get steamrolled. And let's not forget, Democrats are the masters of importing voters. Whether it's mass migration to flip demographics or stuffing ballots in places where nobody's watching. So the GOP saying we're going to set the rules in our own state? That's not unfair. That's long overdue. Voter suppression is CNN's bedtime story, not reality. Texans are still voting, only now the lines reflect the real population instead of Democrat-engineered fantasy districts. Cry harder, libs. It's called politics.
Brian calling it a steak dinner with sides might be the first time I've heard redistricting compared to a Texas Roadhouse menu, but you're the one who tends to pump the brakes, Rachel. What's your take? Is this smart strategy or a dangerous overreach? Does this move risk backfiring by feeding into the Democrats' favorite narrative? That Republicans only win by cheating?
It's a legitimate risk, and I don't think conservatives can just laugh it off. Democrats are masters of playing victim, and this gives them a new sob story to milk. "We can't win because the maps are rigged" will be their campaign slogan, and the media will amplify it on every network. Sure, the GOP might grab 5 seats in the short run, but if they look like they're gaming the system, that energizes Democrat turnout in battleground states. Voters who feel manipulated don't just complain, they show up in droves to send a message. Republicans need to ask themselves, are we securing long-term trust or just short-term wins that come with long-term headaches?
All right, so from your perspective, what would be the smarter conservative move? Fight fire with fire like Brian says, or try to rise above it?
Honestly, a middle ground. Yes, fight back. Don't let Democrats dominate the map game, but also be strategic in messaging. Frame it around fairness and population growth, not just raw power. Say, Texas grew, Texas deserves more seats, and these maps reflect that growth. Sell it as representation, not domination. Because if Republicans come off as gleeful about crushing Democrats, it only feeds the narrative that they can't compete without rigging. Play hard, yes, but play smart, because perception can swing elections just as much as the math.
Rachel says perception matters. Daniel, you usually say perception is just propaganda from the deep state. What's your angle here? What's lurking under the surface of this redistricting fight? Why do you think the establishment is losing its mind over Texas adding 5 GOP seats? What's the deeper play here?
Because this isn't just about 5 seats. It's about oversight and control. Every seat Republicans gain is one less pawn for the uniparty machine. With 5 more GOP votes in the House, suddenly investigations into Fauci, Hunter Biden's laptop, and CIA meddling aren't just pipe dreams. They're actual committee priorities. That's what the swamp fears. They don't care about the maps. They care about losing their chokehold. Texas isn't just redrawing lines, it's redrawing the power structure. And the timing, doing this with Trump back in office, signals that the GOP is tired of playing defense. They're setting the battlefield before the other side can even pick a weapon.
Okay, but the courts are coming. Democrats are going to sue this into oblivion. Does that risk kneecapping the strategy before it even takes root?
Of course they'll sue. They always sue. But here's the kicker. It keeps Democrats tied up in legal battles instead of organizing on the ground. While they're burning millions on lawyers, Republicans are out there energizing voters. And if it drags on, good. The more chaos in the courts, the harder it is for Democrats to sell a clear message. Remember, confusion is a weapon. While the left screams about lawsuits, conservatives can position themselves as the stable choice. This isn't kneecapping, it's distraction. The longer Democrats whine in court, the less they win in the ballot box.
Daniel basically says chaos is the point, which sounds like a Bond villain plan. Skylar, you're coming from the green side of the fence. What's your reaction? Is this a power grab, or just Texas doing what every state does? Do you see this as Republicans undermining democracy, or is this just business as usual?
It's absolutely undermining democracy. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is gerrymandering on steroids, and it's designed to silence communities of color, young voters, and anyone who doesn't fit neatly into the Republican playbook. Saying Democrats do it too doesn't excuse it. It just shows how broken the system is. Voters should choose their representatives, not the other way around. And let's be real. These maps aren't about reflecting growth. They're about clinging to power. Republicans are scared of a changing Texas, more diverse, younger, greener, and instead of winning hearts, they're redrawing lines. That's not democracy. That's manipulation.
But Skylar, if Democrats are doing the same in their states, isn't it just hypocritical outrage?
Sure, Democrats gerrymander too, but the solution isn't to double down. It's to fix the system, independent commissions, fair representation, real reform. Instead, both parties are treating voters like pawns, but Republicans, especially in Texas, are taking it to new extremes because they know demographics aren't on their side long term. They're fighting the future instead of adapting to it. And that's not just hypocritical, it's self-defeating. People see through it, and it only pushes more young and independent voters away from the GOP. If they want to survive, they should be competing for votes, not carving up maps to protect themselves from reality.
So there you have it. Brian calling it a steak dinner. Rachel warning about indigestion. Daniel saying chaos is the strategy. And Skylar basically saying the whole restaurant should be shut down. The truth? Texas is setting the tone for 2026. And whether you see it as genius or dirty pool, it's going to shape the battlefield for everyone else. Redistricting has always been a knife fight in the dark. Texas just brought a chainsaw. And as the lawsuits fly and the narratives spin, remember, in politics, the lines on a map can matter just as much as the votes on Election Day. We've torn through the strategies, the risks, and the spin. But now I want to slow it down and hear where each of you lands on what Texas really represents. This isn't just about maps. It's about the soul of the movement and the future of the country. So let's get some final thoughts.
Here's my bottom line. Texas is doing what every other red state should be doing, and it's about damn time. For decades, Republicans sat around whining while Democrats weaponized every tool at their disposal. Redistricting, courts, ballot harvesting, you name it. And when conservatives finally flex a little muscle, suddenly it's a constitutional crisis? Please. This is power politics, and power politics is how you win. If the GOP wants to be competitive in the next decade, they can't tiptoe, they've got to bulldoze. That's what Texas is showing. It's not cheating, it's fighting fire with fire. And if Democrats cry about it, let them. We're not here to comfort our enemies, we're here to beat them.
My perspective is a little different. Yes, politics is about winning, but it's also about credibility, and you can lose that faster than you think. If Republicans push too hard and frame this the wrong way, it risks making them look like the very swamp creatures they claim to be against. Voters, especially independents, are tired of the games. They want fairness, they want honesty, they want a sense that their voices matter. And when you start carving maps that look more like power grabs than representation, that erodes trust. Texas has the chance to prove Republicans can fight and still maintain principle. But if they swing the pendulum too far, they may find that the backlash costs more than the immediate gains. Winning battles means nothing if you lose the war for voters' trust.
To me, this is all proof the system is cracking, and the deep state knows it. You don't get this level of screaming from the media and lawsuits from Democrats unless the swamp feels threatened. Every new red seat in Texas isn't just a number on a chart. It's another set of eyes on corruption. Another vote against endless wars. Another challenge to the bureaucrats who think they run the country. That's what's really at stake. They'll call it gerrymandering, voter suppression, manipulation, you name it. But the truth is, they're terrified. They've had control for so long that the idea of losing even a slice of it sends them into full meltdown. And that tells me Texas is doing something right. When the establishment howls, you know you're finally hitting them where it hurts.
From where I sit, this isn't strategy. It's desperation dressed up as strength. Republicans see the writing on the wall. Texas is changing. It's younger. It's more diverse. It's more forward-looking. Instead of rising to that challenge and appealing to new voters, the GOP is trying to redraw the lines and lock in power before it slips away. That's not courage. That's cowardice. And defending people like Paxton only makes it worse, because it shows conservatives aren't serious about cleaning up their own messes. You can keep rewriting the maps all you want, but demographics don't lie, and sooner or later, voters catch on. This might buy Republicans time, but it won't buy them trust, and without trust, they're finished.
So here we are. Brian says Texas is leading the fight and the rest of the GOP better follow. Rachel warns about the cost of losing credibility. Daniel sees a swamp terrified of losing its grip. And Skylar says it's all just desperation from a party afraid of the future. And maybe, in their own ways, they're all right. Because politics isn't a fairy tale. It's a knife fight in the dark, and sometimes you don't know who won until the lights come back on. What's happening in Texas isn't small. It's not some local scuffle. It's the blueprint for how both sides will fight in the years to come. Draw the maps, file the lawsuits, rally the voters. It's trench warfare, American style. But here's the real question. When the dust settles, will conservatives have gained power? Or will they have lost the one thing that matters most? Trust? That's the gamble Texas is taking, and the whole country is watching. So whether you see it as bold strategy or desperate flailing, one thing's for sure. The lines being drawn in Texas aren't just on a map. They're lines in the sand for the entire nation. And sooner or later, every voter, every state, and every party is going to have to decide which side of that line they stand on. Remember to speak truth, stir thought.